Script complete, 872 words, within the 900-word plus or minus 5% target. Here it is. They convicted Daniel Voss of murdering his neighbor in 1994. Then someone found a sealed evidence log in a condemned warehouse, and it listed a knife the jury never saw. Here's what they told the jury. On the night of March 3rd, Daniel Voss argued with his neighbor Ellen Marsh over a property line. Neighbors heard shouting. Hours later, Marsh was found dead in her kitchen, stabbed once. Voss had no alibi. His prints were on her back door. The prosecution built a clean case, motive, opportunity. A single weapon, they said, was never recovered. The jury took 90 minutes. He got 25 to life. For 30 years, that was the file. Closed. Filed. Forgotten in a records annex nobody had reason to open again. The annex closed in 2019. A city contractor clearing it for demolition found 4 steel evidence lockers that had never been logged into the digital system. A gap nobody could explain, because those lockers were supposed to have been emptied in 1996, per the department's own inventory sheet. Inside one, sealed in a paper bag with a chain of custody tag dated March 4, 1994, the morning after the murder, was a folding knife. Blood on the blade. A property tag. A signature, half faded, still legible under the evidence room's lamp. The tag read, "Recovered from storm drain, Lindley Avenue, 1 block from the Marsh residence." That knife was never entered as evidence. It was never mentioned in any police report the defense received, never referenced in the property inventory read into the trial record. It sat in that locker for 25 years while a man sat in a cell for a murder committed, according to this tag, with a weapon the prosecution insisted didn't exist. Here's the contradiction that breaks the case. At trial, the prosecution's entire theory rested on one claim. Voss's kitchen knife, missing from his own block set, was the murder weapon never found but inferred from the wound pattern. Their medical examiner testified the wound was consistent with a 6-inch kitchen blade. The storm drain knife is a folding lock blade, 3.5 inches. Different weapon, different geometry, and it was recovered logged, tagged, bagged, less than 18 hours after the body was found. Someone on that scene knew about a second knife before the trial even started. The jury that convicted Voss in 90 minutes never heard that a weapon existed that didn't match their own theory of the crime. Why did this sit sealed for 25 years? Because the annex where it was stored wasn't just poorly organized, it was legally walled off. In 1997, the department reclassified the Marsh case's physical evidence as administratively closed, a designation that, under the department's own retention policy, moved it out of the active evidence system and into cold storage requiring a court order to access. No defense attorney, no appellate court, no journalist ever successfully petitioned for that order. 3 attempts were filed between 1998 and 2004, and all 3 were denied without a hearing, each denial citing the same boilerplate line: insufficient cause to disturb a closed conviction. The knife wasn't hidden by accident. It was buried by a paperwork mechanism nobody outside the department fully understood, in a building nobody had a legal reason to walk into until a wrecking crew made the decision for them. But the knife wasn't the strangest part of what the contractor found. Taped inside the same locker behind the evidence bag was a single sheet, a partial fingerprint card, unlabeled, no case number. It matched no name in the original file. When a forensic examiner ran it in 2021, it returned a partial match to a man named Curtis Ray, a name that appears exactly once in the original police reports, as the officer who signed the March 4th chain of custody tag. The same knife, the same morning. Ray left the department in 1995, 11 months after Voss's conviction, and was never called to testify at trial, despite being first on scene at the storm drain. A card with his print, sealed with a knife his own signature logged, in a locker legally invisible for a quarter century. That isn't a filing error. Coincidence stops explaining itself somewhere around the 3rd document. If the knife had reached the jury, the prosecution's single-weapon theory collapses, and with it, arguably the conviction. Voss's appellate team filed for post-conviction review within 6 weeks of the discovery. A hearing is now scheduled. Whoever decided that locker should never be opened didn't just protect a verdict. They protected whoever else was standing at that storm drain on March 4, 1994, signing a tag for evidence that was never supposed to see daylight again. Nobody has explained why an administratively closed case sat behind a legal wall for 25 years, while 3 petitions to open it were quietly denied. Nobody has explained why the officer who logged the real weapon vanished from the case file and the department roster within a year. The knife is out of the locker now. The question of who built that wall and why it held for so long is still sealed. Saved to home/Jarvis admin/script case nobody was supposed to reopen. TXT.